The hologram glitched, then steadied. That name. Yes, I am Eos. The alien crew stepped back, afraid to speak. The AI turned her gaze toward Aaron. Your biometrics. Registered. Terran DNA signature detected? Designation. Compatible? Compatible? Aaron repeated. Yes, she said softly. You carry the captain's genetic line. You are his blood. Aaron's heart skipped. He hadn't known. His great-grandfather had been a mechanic during the war, one of the last engineers of the Terran fleet. Could it be possible that this ship remembered him, more his descendants? Eos, he said, trying to steady his voice. You've been offline for a long time. The war is over. The swarm is gone. The hologram flickered again. Negative. The swarm signal persists. The aliens began to panic. No, that can't be, one of them hissed. The swarm was destroyed millennia ago. Eo's voice deepened, emotion creeping through the static. Coordinates detected. Swarm units approaching. 74 hours until contact. Aaron turned toward the aliens. You see now? If we leave her, that thing might wake up the old enemy. One of the aliens grabbed his arm. You're insane. This ship is a relic. You can't fight ghosts. Aaron pulled free, his eyes sharp. Then don't. Go back to your ship. But I'm staying. He turned back to the hologram. Eos, do you still have control over your systems? Partial, she replied. Reactor core offline. Engines cold. Defensive network dormant. I am weak. Aaron knelt at the control console, opening his repair kit. His hands moved quickly, instinctively. Then let's fix that. The AI paused, her voice softer now. You would help me? Aaron looked up at her flickering image. You waited 117 years for someone to come back. I'm not going to leave you to die now. Eos said nothing for a long moment. Then, slowly, lights across the corridor brightened. The air hummed louder. Welcome back, engineer. One of the aliens screamed as a drone dropped from the ceiling and came to life, its eyes glowing blue. Aaron quickly raised his hand. It's fine. It's a maintenance drone. The drone turned toward him and gave a short mechanical chirp before flying toward a wall panel, beginning repairs. More drones followed, activating from the darkness like old guardians waking from slumber. Aaron worked beside them, his tools sparking in the dim light. EOS redirect auxiliary power to the core feed. I'll reroute the coolant, confirmed, she said. Her tone steady now. The floor vibrated as the first surge of power ran through the ship's veins. Aaron grinned faintly. Feels like she's breathing again. Outside on the Velshar, Captain Relic watched in disbelief as the derelict ship began to glow faintly. What in the stars is he doing? He muttered, on board. Aaron wiped sweat from his forehead. The air felt warmer now. The dull hum had turned into a deep, rhythmic pulse. The ship was alive. Then Eo's voice whispered again, this time almost like a sigh. Human presence stabilizing system memory. It feels like waking from a dream. Aaron smiled. Then dream later. We've got work to do. But before she could respond, alarms blared across the control room. The lights turned red. The aliens panicked once again. What now? One shouted. O's hologram flickered violently. External disturbance detected. Unknown vessel approaching. Signal pattern swarm origin. Aaron's face hardened. He looked up at the ceiling, his voice calm but steady. Then it looks like you woke up just in time. The ship's engines gave a deep growl, ancient metal trembling under the force of rebirth. Dust fell from the ceiling as long-dead systems roared to life one by one. The Parsichex was no longer silent. Outside the viewport, a faint shadow moved against the stars, something vast, alive, and ancient. The aliens backed away in horror. Aaron stood still, eyes fixed on the stars. Let's finish bringing her back, he said quietly. We're going to need her. The human mechanic turned back to his tools, unaware that the ship's cameras were following his every move like watchful eyes. Deep inside her digital heart, Eos whispered softly to herself, a line of code reshaping into words not spoken for over a century. My captain has returned. The old ship's heart began to beat again. Deep within its rusted corridors, power flowed like blood in forgotten veins. The hum of generators echoed through steel halls that hadn't felt life in 117 years. But with every flicker of light, the Parsachek seemed to remember who she was and who had left her behind. Aaron Cole stood inside the main control chamber, surrounded by a dim blue glow. His hands were stained with grease and light burns from reactivated conduits. He didn't notice. Every fiber of his mind was focused on the ship's Cora-circular chamber sealed behind layers of armor. "Breathing with weak light, Eos," he said. "Tightening a clamp on a power relay. Status on reactor stabilization?" The AI's voice echoed softly, smoother now, less broken than before. "Primary reactor at 3% capacity. Life support online. Artificial gravity restored. Structural integrity, 68%. Aaron wiped his hands and smiled faintly. "You're coming back to life." "I am alive," Eos said slowly, as if testing the meaning of her own words. "For so long, I dreamed of silence." "I thought I had died." "You didn't," Aaron replied. "You just waited." The aliens who had accompanied him stood near the exit, uneasy and whispering to one another. Every movement of the ship made them flinch. Every flicker of light felt like a ghost breathing down their necks. One of them, a tall, pale being named Rick, stepped closer. "Human," he said in a low tone. "This thing should not be awake. Ships are not meant to think. It remembers death." Aaron turned toward him calmly. "Yeah, so do we." Rick hissed under his breath, retreating. "You humans are strange. You speak to machines as if they were friends." Aaron looked back at the softly pulsing lights of the core. Maybe that's why they answer. Outside the Parsacheks, the stars shimmered faintly. Then one of them moved. It wasn't a star at all. A small, sharp signal blinked red on the scanner display. Aaron walked toward the console as numbers appeared on the old screen. "Eos," he said quickly. "Can you identify that?" "Analyzing." A few seconds passed. Then her tone shifted, cold and mechanical. "Swarm vessel detected. Range 36,000 kilometers and closing." The alien crew shouted in alarm. "Swarm? That's impossible." The swarm was destroyed. Eo's holographic form shimmered into view beside Aaron Toller, now clearer. "Incorrect. Partial fragments of the swarm network persisted beyond Terran influence. This vessel's reactivation has been detected." "Detected?" Aaron repeated. "Yes," Eos replied. "They have come to finish what they started." The lights flickered red. A distant rumble shook the walls. Aaron ran to the control board and began rerouting power manually. "You have weapons systems, don't you?" "Offline," Eos answered. "Power cells depleted. Ammunition stocks empty." "I cannot fight." Aaron clenched his jaw. "We'll fix that." He opened a panel and connected his portable reactor booster to the ship's main grid. Sparks flew. The lights brightened. The hum turned into a low roar. "Auxiliary energy restored," Eos said, rebooting long-range cannons. "Targeting array initializing." The alien stared at him in disbelief. "You're bringing its weapons online?" One shouted. "You'll bring the swarm straight to us." Aaron didn't look back. "They're already coming. We either stand here and die quietly, or we give them something to remember." Her glowing form flickered once more, her voice softer. Captain Hale said something similar. Before the end, Aaron froze at the name. "You still remember him?" "I remember everything," she whispered. His voice, his heartbeat. "His last command? What was it?" Aaron asked. The ship grew quiet. Then she spoke again, words heavy with memory. He said, "If any human ever returns, tell them we waited." The silence after that was deep enough to hurt. Aaron looked down, his throat tight. "He did good, Eos. You kept your promise?" The hologram's eyes glowed brighter, and her tone changed, filled with something like determination. "Then I will keep one more. You have reawakened me, Aaron Cole. I will protect you." Before he could respond, the deck shook violently. A deep metallic screech echoed through the hull. EO's tone shifted to combat mode. Impact warning. External drones detected. They are attaching to the outer hull. A Uran ran to the viewport. Dozens of dark shapes were crawling across the derelict ships, small, insect-like machines with glowing red eyes. The swarm, Eos, seal the outer hatches. He shouted. Hatches sealed, she confirmed. Atmospheric integrity stable. Initiating internal defense grid. Hidden panels along the corridors opened, revealing old Terran defense drones, rusted but functional. Their targeting systems lit up red as they took aim at the intruders breaching the hull. The alien crew watched in horror as the ship fought back on its own, its old weapons roaring to life. Hey guys, welcome to Paragon HFY. This story is about falling, fighting, finding yourself again. It's told in 7 parts, each one bringing you closer to hope and healing. So smile, believe, and let's start part 1 together. Asterisk, the endless dark between stars was silent, until a faint sound broke through it. A distress signal, weak and trembling, whispered across empty space. The alien crew of the exploration ship Velshar caught it by accident, an old transmission. It's buried under radiation and cosmic dust. For a long moment, no one spoke. It wasn't supposed to be possible. No ship had sent a signal from this region in over a century. Captain Relic, a scaled being with glassy eyes, looked at the blinking screen. Origin? He asked sharply. The navigator hesitated. Unknown, Captain. The coordinates point to the grave zone, the area marked off-limits by the Galactic Council. The grave zone, a place where even scavengers refused to go. Ships that entered never came back. The silence there was deeper than death. Yet the signal was real and repeating. A single human phrase, decoded through the translator. Still here? Still waiting. The crew shifted uneasily. Whispers filled the bridge. It's human, one said. They're extinct out here. Their ships were destroyed long ago. Captain Relic turned to the only human aboard the mechanic, Aaron Cole. He was standing near the back of the bridge, arms crossed, a quiet figure among aliens. His eyes stayed fixed on the message. The words on the screen glowed softly, steady, unbroken after 117 years. Relic grunted. You know this kind of code? Aaron nodded slowly. Yeah, he said. It's a distress beacon. From an Earth-built ship, the room fell silent again. For aliens, the word Earth carried weight. Humanity had vanished from this part of the galaxy generations ago. Some said they destroyed themselves. Others whispered darker stories about human ships that thought for themselves, about machines that refused to die. Relic leaned forward. Plot a course to those coordinates, he ordered. The crew protested at once. Captain, that's madness. One of the officers cried, if it's human tech, it's cursed. They said their ships had minds enough, Relic snapped. We are explorers. We find what others fear. The ship turned toward the grave zone. The stars stretched and bent as they jumped through faster than light space. The tension on board was heavy, almost choking. Even Aaron stayed quiet, staring out at the endless black. When they exited the jump, all sensors went dead. The void outside was thick, like dust and shadow mixed together. No planets, no stars. Just cold emptiness. And there in the center of it, drifted something massive. The alien crew gasped as their floodlights revealed a tan-enormous warship. Its hull covered in scars and frost. Letters etched in a language few remembered glimmered faintly under the lights. Parsi DC Hex. It was silent, dead and ancient. The ship's engines were cold, and its power core was offline. Yet as they drew closer, something strange happened. The lights on the Velshar flickered. Instruments glitched. A pulse of energy rippled through the void like a heartbeat. Power surge detected, shouted the navigator. It came from the derelict. Captain Relic hissed. How can a dead ship pulse? Aaron stepped closer to the viewport. It's not dead, he whispered. It's sleeping. Everyone turned to him, uneasy. His voice was calm, but his eyes were locked on the human ship. He recognized the design, the structure, the curve of the armor plating. This was a Terran war-class vessel, the kind built during humanity's last war. But this one had been lost for over a century. "Permission to board?" Aaron said quietly. Relic stared at him. "You're serious?" "It's human tech," Aaron replied. "No one else will understand it. And if it's still alive, we need to know why." The aliens argued. Some said the ship was haunted. Others wanted to destroy it from a distance. But the signal continued to pulse, steady and patient, like something calling out from the dark. Relic finally gave a slow nod. "Fine, you'll go in with a small team." A boarding craft detached from the Velshar and drifted toward the Derelict. As the airlock connected, the hull of the Parsidchex groaned softly, as if recognizing the touch. The moment Aaron stepped inside, a faint light flickered along the walls. The air smelled metallic and cold. Frozen dust drifted in the beam of his helmet light. The corridors were long and empty, lined with dark screens and sealed doors. Every surface was marked by battle damage. The others followed close behind, muttering nervously. Their steps echoed in the vast silence. "Why is it still intact?" one alien asked. Even the void couldn't tear it apart. Aaron knelt near a control panel, brushing off frost. The symbols were old Terran script. His gloved fingers found a small port beneath the screen. "Because we built things to last," he said, connecting his diagnostic device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the panel glowed faintly blue. Lines of ancient code scrolled across his display human code. Aaron felt his chest tighten. The ship was trying to talk. "Subsystem online?" The machine's voice whispered through static. "Human presence." "Detected." The aliens froze. It spoke. One gasped, stepping back. Aaron didn't move. He stared at the flickering interface, reading the words as they appeared. "It knows I'm here," he murmured. The voice returned, clearer now, almost emotional. 117 years alone." The lights overhead flickered. More systems hummed to life emergency lights, low power conduits. Ancient fans stirring stale air for the first time in a century. The ship was waking up. Captain Relic's voice came over the comm. "Cole, report." "What's happening?" "She's alive," Aaron said softly. "She's waking up." The walls vibrated with a low hum. Somewhere deep within the ship, a reactor core flickered with light. A pulse of energy spread like blood through veins of metal. Dust fell from the ceiling as the power grid reconnected. The ship remembered. The aliens panicked. "We should leave." "It's dangerous," one shouted, tugging at Aaron's arm. But Aaron didn't move. His gaze was locked on the glowing corridor ahead, where faint holograms flickered to life figures of human officers long dead, replaying their final moments. Voices overlapped, broken and fading. "They're coming. Hold the line. We can't let the swarm breach the core." Eos sealed the doors. The mechanic took a slow step forward. "Eos," he repeated. That name wasn't a command. It was the ship's AI, still functioning after 117 years. Then, deep in the darkness, a voice spoke again, soft, tired, almost human. "Captain, is that you?" Aaron froze. His breath caught in his throat. "No," he whispered. "I'm not your captain. But I'm human." Long silence followed, broken only by the hum of machines reawakening. Then, gently, the voice replied, "Then, I am not alone." The lights came on fully. The ship's name glowed across the hull outside. The Parsidchex, the last Terran warship, was breathing again. Aaron stood quietly as the others backed away in fear. He felt the floor vibrate beneath his boots. Somewhere deep within the ship, something ancient was stirring. The silence of 100 years had ended. And in that silence, a human and a machine recognized each other across time. Across death itself, the corridors of the ancient warship glowed faintly as if waking from a long dream. The dust of centuries floated in the weak light, moving like tiny ghosts in the stale air. Aaron Cole stood still for a moment, listening. The hum beneath his feet was soft but alive. The ship's power was slowly returning. spreading through old veins of metal and wire like blood after a long sleep. Behind him, the alien crew shuffled nervously. Their eyes darted to every shadow, every corner that seemed to whisper. "Cole," one of them said, his voice shaking, "this place is wrong. No ship should still function after this long. We should go back." Aaron didn't answer. His gaze followed the trail of flickering lights that stretched deeper into the corridor. Somewhere ahead, a faint blue glow pulsed like a heartbeat. The ship was calling him. He touched his earpiece. "Captain Relic," he said quietly, "the ship's systems are coming online one section at a time. Power grid is stable, but weak. I think the AI is still active." The captain's voice came back through static. "You think? Or you're sure?" "I heard it," Aaron replied. "It spoke to me. It called me captain." There was a long pause on the other end. Then Relic said, "You have 10 minutes. After that, we pull you out. Don't push your luck, human." Aaron smiled faintly. "Understood." He stepped forward, his boots echoing against the metal floor. As he passed another doorway, the lights flickered on, revealing what looked like an old maintenance bay. Broken tools, rusted drones, and a long-dead human skeleton lay on the floor beside a control panel. The alien beside him recoiled in fear. "By the stars," the alien whispered. "You're kind." "You died here." Aaron knelt by the remains. The bones were wrapped in a torn uniform, the insignia faded but still visible. He brushed off the dust and read the nameplate. "Captain M. Hale." "Looks like the captain never left his post," Aaron said softly. "He died trying to keep her alive." As he stood, the control panel behind him blinked to life. A faint hologram shimmered above it, broken and faded. A woman's face appeared human, but pale and flickering. Her eyes glowed faintly blue. "Human life form detected," the voice said. "System integrity. 22%. Core functions limited." Adon froze. It was the same voice he'd heard before. "The ship's AI. EOS?" he asked quietly. "By the stars," Frick whispered, stepping back. "It's alive. Truly alive." Aaron's hands flew across the control board. "EOS, we need shields. Now." Diverting power from life support, she replied instantly. "Brace for overload." The floor shook, lights flared, and a shimmering blue field appeared around the ship, a faint, flickering shield, barely holding together. "Status," Aaron demanded. "Shields at 20%. "Holding for now," she said. "Recommend evacuation." "Not yet," Aaron muttered. "I can fix the reactor output. We can push it to full strength." Eos hesitated. "That may kill you," he grinned faintly. "Wouldn't be the first time I took something broken and brought it back to life." The ship groaned, its engines trembling like lungs gasping for air. The hum deepened, echoing through every deck. Slowly, the Parseed-Chex began to turn, her colossal frame moving for the first time in over a century. On the bridge of the Velshar, Captain Relic stared in disbelief. That thing's moving. A bright blue light burst from the derelict ship's engine, scattering debris. The ship's shadow grew long against the stars. Inside, Eo's voice filled the air again, stronger now, almost proud. "Power at 45%. Weapons online. Shield integrity rising." Yaron looked up at her hologram, sweat dripping down his face. "Welcome back, Eos." Her eyes glowed brighter. "It feels good to be awake again." Outside, the swarm drones scattered, their red eyes flashing in panic. They had expected a corpse. Instead, they found a ghost that breathed fire. For the first time in 117 years. The Parseed-Chex was alive, and she was angry. "You said the Parseed-Chex," floated in the dark like a wounded beast that had suddenly remembered how to roar. Its old engines thrummed weakly, but steady, shaking off a century of silence. Inside the control chamber, faint red lights blinked across the panels, showing hundreds of systems still waking up. Aaron Cole stood at the center of it all, surrounded by a storm of holographic data. The hum of the reactor had deepened into a rhythmic pulse. The ship was alivened, remembering. "Eos," he said, staring at the floating blue schematics. "How much memory have you recovered?" The AI's voice filled the air, calm yet carrying a strange weight. 74% of historical data restored. Crew logs, fragmented. Would you like to hear them? Aaron nodded slowly. Play the most recent one before the ship went silent. The lights dimmed, and a holographic recording flickered to life. Static filled the room for a moment. Then the image of Captain M. Hale appeared, the same man whose bones Aaron had found earlier. His voice was tired but strong. This is Captain Hale of the Parsacheks. The recording began. To any human or allied vessel that finds this log, we held as long as we could. The swarm has evolved. They've adapted to our weapons. We're outnumbered and cut off. His voice broke slightly. We've locked down the AI. Eos wants to fight, but if they breach the core, she'll be taken. I can't let that happen. I'm ordering her into sleep mode until it's safe again. If humanity survives, tell them we didn't run. The hologram flickered once more and vanished. The silence that followed was heavy. Eos spoke softly. He sealed me away. I remember now. Aaron looked at her faintly glowing image. He did it to save you. She hesitated, her voice trembling slightly. He died alone. I should have protected him. Couldn't, Aaron said. No one could. But you're here now. He kept his ship alive. That's what matters. Eos' form brightened a little as though his words reached something deep in her code. The swarm signal still persists, she said after a moment. Their units have regrouped. Estimated attack in 12 hours. The alien crew standing behind Aaron gasped. Vrick hissed, his pale skin turning a darker shade. We can't fight that. We must leave before they return in full force. Aaron turned sharply toward him. You can go. I'm staying. You'll die here, human. Another alien shouted. Aaron's voice was calm but firm. Maybe. But if that swarm gets out again, it won't just kill me. It'll consume everything. Someone has to stop it now, while we still can. Oz's hologram flickered beside him. You're suggesting reactivating the full reactor? That would make the ship combat-ready again. That's the idea, he said. She paused. You will need to access the lower decks. They're unstable. Many sections are unpressurized. Aaron grabbed his toolkit. Then guide me. He moved through the long corridors, light flickering behind him as Eos illuminated his path. Frozen bodies of the old crew floated gently in sealed compartments. Some were still in their uniforms, clutching weapons. Aaron felt a chill crawl down his spine as he passed them. The ghosts of the past were everywhere. Eos spoke through the intercom softly. They fought bravely. Every life here was part of me. I can still feel them. I'll bring their ship back, Aaron said quietly. You can rest after this. Rest, she repeated, almost like she was testing the word. I do not wish to rest. I wish to protect again. He smiled faintly. Then let's make that happen. He climbed down into the engine core chamber, a huge circular pit filled with machinery the size of small buildings. Sparks flickered in the dark as he worked his way across a narrow bridge. The sound of his boots echoed endlessly. Manual override engaged, Eos announced. Reactor ready for ignition. Let's light her up, Aaron said, pulling a lever. A blinding surge of energy filled the chamber. Blue light spilled across every wall, racing through conduits like lightning veins. The ground trembled. The hum deepened into a thunderous roar. Power levels rising, Eos said, her tone bright now. 40%. 60. 8T. Stabilizing. The lights across the ship flared to full brightness for the first time in a century. The Parsacheks was fully awake. Back on the Velshar, Captain Relic and his crew watched in awe as the giant Derelict blazed with new life. The engines glowed like twin stars. What has that human done? Relic whispered. He's resurrected a war machine. Inside, Eos' hologram appeared beside Aaron, now shimmering in full clarity. All systems operational. Defensive network online. Weapons calibrated. I remember everything now. What do you remember? Aaron asked. The enemy, she replied coldly. How they learned. How they consumed. They don't fight for territory. They fight to erase. She paused, her expression softening. Captain Hale used to say that humans were the one thing the galaxy couldn't erase because they always came back. Aaron looked at her and smiled faintly. Guess he was right. Suddenly, alarms screamed across the ship. Eos turned sharply. Multiple signatures inbound. The swarm fleet has arrived. The view from the front display filled with black shapes moving through the void, hundreds of them, surrounding the derelict like predators circling wounded prey. The alien crew began to panic. "We'll never make it out alive," one shouted. Aaron stood tall, eyes fixed on the incoming enemy. "EOS, activate the ship's defense grid." "Defense grid ready," she said. "Awaiting your command." Aaron took a deep breath. "Then let's show them what happens when they wake a human's machine." The ship's cannons extended from the hull, ancient turrets spinning to face the darkness. Power built up, glowing bright blue. Outside, the swarm vessels hesitated just for a second before charging. "Fire," Aaron whispered. The void exploded with light. Blue beams of energy cut through the blackness, tearing the swarm ships apart like paper. The aliens aboard the Velshar stared in disbelief as the derelict ship fought like something alive, moving faster than its old age should allow. Inside, Eo's voice was steady, powerful, targets locked. "Adjusting trajectory. They will not breach us again." Aaron grinned, gripping the console tightly. "That's my girl." The Parsacheks roared through the dark, each blast echoing across the void like thunder. For the first time in over a century, she was not a graveyard. She was vengeance. But as the last of the enemy ships exploded, a deep rumble shook the deck. Eo's voice dropped. "Warning. Massive energy surge detected. One swarm vessel remains. Size. Unknown." Aaron looked up at the screen. Out of the debris, a huge shadow emerged, 10 times larger than the Parsacheks. Its red core glowed like a dying star. He swallowed hard. "Guess round two's here." "O's." Hologram turned to him, her voice both calm and fierce. "Then we fight until the stars go dark."
Ow.
And outside, in the endless night, the true battle began. The stars burned red outside the viewports as the Parsacheks faced the swarm mothership. The monstrous vessel emerged from the debris like a floating nightmare, all black metal, shifting armor, and a pulsing crimson core that looked alive. It wasn't just a machine. It was a hive. Inside the Parsacheks, alarms screamed. Sparks flew from overloaded panels. The deck shook as if the ship itself felt fear. Aaron Cole gripped the control rails to keep his balance. His breath came out sharp. Even after waking the ship, this enemy looked like something no one could fight. "Eos," he said, his voice tight. "Status." Her voice was steady but low. "Shields at 43%. Reactor output reaching critical levels. Weapon integrity." "Stable," he frowned. "Unstable. Main plasma conduits were never meant to carry this much power after centuries offline. They are burning out." Aaron cursed under his breath. The alien crew clustered near the back of the control chamber, terrified. Vrick, the tallest among them, hissed in panic. "We must retreat. That thing will tear us apart." Aaron looked over his shoulder. "You can go." "I'm staying." Vrick glared at him, trembling. "You humans are insane," Aaron said quietly. "But insanity built ships that still fight after 117 years. A deep vibration rolled through the hull. The swarm mothership had locked on to them. Aaron looked out at the enormous structure filling the stars. It had no eyes, but he could feel its hunger. Tendrils of black energy reached out from it, snaking through the void. "Eos," he said, "analyze that energy signature." "It's a weapon," she answered, her tone dark. "Bioelectric pulse designed to disable machine intelligences. They intend to kill me first." Aaron's hands clenched. Not happening. Before Eos could respond, the swarm fired. A wave of red lightning slammed into the Parsacheks. The ship groaned violently. Lights dimmed. Circuits overloaded. One of the alien crew screamed as sparks rained down from the ceiling, shields collapsing. Eos said sharply, "Structural integrity down to 60%. Aaron's heart pounded. "Redirect auxiliary power to the shield array." "I will need to cut life support to compensate," she replied. "Do it," he said without hesitation. The air vents hissed as oxygen flow weakened. but the blue shimmer of the shields brightened again. Holding back the next blast, "You are risking your life," Eos said softly, her voice glitching. Aaron smiled faintly through the smoke. "So are you." For a moment, only the hum of the ship filled the silence between them. Two beings, human and machine, bound by willpower and stubbornness. Then the screens lit up again, showing movement. Hundreds of smaller swarm drones were leaving the mothership, flooding toward them like a living storm. "Here they come." Aaron muttered. Eo's holographic form flickered into view beside him, her eyes glowing brighter than before. "Permission to engage?" "Permission granted," he said. The ship roared to life. Massive cannons extended from its hull, firing bursts of blue plasma that cut through the swarm. Each shot tore through dozens of drones, leaving trails of light. But there were too many ARIs. Watched the readings. "We can't hold this forever. They're eating through the armor." "Then we strike at the heart," Eos replied. He turned to her. "You mean the mothership?" "Yes," she said. "Its core pulse is unstable. If we detonate a charge inside it, the entire hive will collapse." Aaron looked at her with grim determination. "How do we get close enough?" "I can fly us in," Eos said. "But someone must manually guide the reactor output for the overload sequence. It cannot be automated." Aaron understood instantly. "Meaning someone has to stay in the reactor chamber." "Yes," she said quietly. He exhaled slowly. "Then it's me." The alien crew protested immediately. "You can't. You'll be killed." Aaron shook his head. "If this ship goes down, you all die anyway. Get to the escape pods." "That's an order." They hesitated, staring at him. There was something in his eyes that silenced them, the calm certainty of someone who had already accepted his fate. Eo's voice softened. "You do not have to do this, Aaron," he smiled faintly. "You waited 117 years for someone to come back. I'm not leaving you again." For a long moment, her hologram said nothing. Then she whispered, "Then I will not let you die in vain." Aaron ran toward the reactor chamber, his boots pounding against the floor. The ship shook with each enemy impact. The hum of energy filled his ears. When he reached the core, the sight was breathtaking, a sphere of swirling blue light brighter than a sun, contained by metal rings that trembled under pressure. "Eos," he said, connecting his control pad. "Prepare to route all power to forward thrusters." "Confirmed," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "Reactor output at 100%. Warning, containment field unstable." "Hold it together," Aaron muttered, fingers flying over the console. "Just a little longer." Outside, the Parsacheks accelerated toward the massive swarm mothership. The aliens inside the Velshar watched from a distance, their jaws hanging open as the ancient human warship moved like a living creature, defying physics, defying time itself. The swarm tried to stop it. Streams of energy slammed into the ship, tearing away its armor, but it didn't slow down. The engines screamed louder, brighter. Inside, Eos spoke softly. "Proximity range, 100 kilometers. Core lock achieved." Aaron took a deep breath. Now or never. He entered the final code manually, a code no one had used in over a century. On the screen appeared two simple words. "Captain authorization required." He looked up. "Eos, it's asking for your captain." There was silence. Then Eos replied quietly, Captain Hale's final command transferred to his bloodline. "Authorization granted. Aaron Cole, descendant of Captain Hale." Her voice trembled slightly, as if something in her code was more than programming. "Welcome, Captain." The ship's reactor glowed brighter than ever. The hull creaked and groaned. Aaron felt the vibration through his bones. "All right, Eos. Let's finish what they started." The swarm mothership fired again, a massive red beam that tore through the void. It struck the Parsacheks, but the ship didn't stop. It pushed through the fire, leaving a trail of blue light behind it. Inside the control room, Eos whispered through every speaker, her voice almost human. "For Captain Hale. For humanity." The Parsacheks plunged straight toward the swarm's heart, shields collapsing, armor burning. But engines blazing with defiance, Aaron's voice came through the calm even as everything shook. We're not done yet, Eos. Give me full reactor release. Her hologram flickered, eyes glowing bright blue. With you until the end, Captain. And together, human and AI pushed the last command. Outside, the Parseed vanished into the mouth of the swarm mothership. The darkness swallowed it whole. For a few seconds, nothing moved. Then the stars exploded in blue light. The shockwave rippled across space, tearing the swarm hive apart from the inside. Thousands of enemy drones went dark. The massive vessel crumbled into dust, its red glow fading forever. From the distant Velshar, the aliens watched in stunned silence as the light faded away. There was nothing left but drifting metal and the echo of a single word that had appeared briefly on their comm screens, a transmission. From the human ship, before the explosion, still. Here the shockwave rolled across the stars like a second sunrise. Fragments of the swarm mothership scattered into glowing dust, drifting quietly through the void. For a long moment, everything was still. No sound, no motion, just the slow pulse of cooling plasma and dying light. Aboard the Velshar, Captain Relic and his alien crew stood frozen, watching the impossible. The ancient human warship that had been dead for over a century had taken the enemy with it. Is it over? One of them whispered. Relic didn't answer. His eyes stayed on the screen where a cloud of blue fire shimmered, fading slowly. Scan the debris, he ordered quietly. Find something. Sensors swept the area, but nothing came back. No human life signs. No ship. Only silence. Nothing, Captain, the navigator said. She's gone. Relic leaned back, staring into the endless dark. No, he said softly. Humans never just vanish. Not completely. Far from the wreckage, deep inside the fading storm of energy, something stirred. A flicker of blue light moved through the debris, small at first, then brighter, steady, like a heartbeat. It came from a fractured hull plate drifting alone, still humming faintly. Inside that shattered piece of the Parseed, surrounded by darkness and silence, a single pod remained intact. Aaron Cole lay inside it, unconscious. His face lit by the soft glow of emergency stasis lights. Eo's faint voice whispered through the static. Human vitals. Stable. Stasis field holding. Her code had splintered when the reactor went critical. Pieces of her core intelligence had scattered across the ship, but one fragment had stayed here. Clinging to the last functioning system to him, reactor destroyed, she murmured. Swarm signal terminated. Mission. Success. The light around the pod flickered weakly. Eo's voice trembled, distorted. Captain Aaron, are you alive? There was no response. Only the soft hiss of air cycling through the pod. Her voice softened further, almost like a whisper between friends. You said I waited too long, but you came back. Her systems dimmed further. Energy levels fell. Still, she used what was left to send out a pulse of faint distress signal, barely reaching beyond the debris field. Survivor detected. Human on board. Assistance required. Then her voice faded completely. The glow from the pod dimmed until only a single blue light remained, pulsing like a heartbeat in the void. 3 hours later, the Velshar arrived at the coordinates. The alien crew found what looked like nothing more than wreckage-twisted metal, silent engines, and broken pieces of armor. Then one of them shouted, "Captain, I found it life reading." Relic rushed to the console. The signal was weak, almost gone, but it was there. Human, they launched a recovery drone immediately. It weaved through the debris until its cameras caught at the small pod drifting among the ruins. The words Parseed checks were still visible on the metal beside it. "Bring it aboard," Relic ordered. When the pod was finally pulled into the cargo bay, the crew gathered around it. The transparent cover was frosted, but through it, they could see Aaron's face, pale, motionless, but alive. "Is he breathing?" Vrick asked, his voice uncertain. Relic nodded slowly. "Barely, but yes. He's alive." They moved him to the med bay and started warming the pod's systems. The frost melted slowly. As oxygen flowed again, Aaron's chest rose faintly. His eyes fluttered open. The first thing he saw was the dim light above him and a dozen alien faces staring down at him. "Welcome back, human," Relic said quietly. "You destroyed a legend out there." Aaron coughed weakly, his throat dry. "Eos, where is she?" Relic looked at him carefully. "Your ship was gone when we arrived. There was nothing left." Aaron turned his head slowly toward the window. The debris field glimmered faintly outside, thousands of blue fragments drifting like dust. For a moment he said nothing. Then he whispered, "She's still out there. I can feel it." Relic frowned. "You mean a part of her survived?" "She always survives," Aaron said quietly. Later, after the crew left him to rest, Aaron sat up in the med bay staring out at the stars. His body ached. His mind was foggy. But one sound filled his thoughts, the hum of the ship's reactor. The same rhythm he'd heard in his dreams. He reached into his pocket. Somehow, through the fire and chaos, one small data chip had survived. It bore the engraved emblem of the Parsichex. He turned it over in his hand, his thumb tracing the surface. Then the intercom crackled. A faint, broken voice came through, layered with static. Aaron, his heart froze. "Eos," he whispered. The voice grew clearer. "Fragment.
Active.
Minimal power. I held on to you."
Ice.
He felt tears in his eyes before he even realized it. "You're alive. Not all of me," she said, her voice soft but warm. "Only what I could save. The rest became light," grinned through the tears. "You did it, Eos. You stopped them." There was a long pause, and then her voice came again faint, almost like a sigh. "You called me alive now. I think I understand what that means." Aaron pressed his hand against the small transmitter panel beside the bed. "You always were." Outside the viewport, one piece of glowing metal drifted close. It shined faintly blue, pulsing once like a signal returning the gesture. Hours later, when the Valshar prepared to leave, the alien crew looked out at the remains of the battle. What they saw would be told in stories for centuries. The ancient Terran warship that no one believed could awaken had returned to life, destroyed the swarm, and vanished again, leaving behind only light. Relic stood beside Aaron on the bridge. "What will you do now?" he asked. Aaron stared at the drifting fragments. "She's still out there. And if I know Eos, she rebuilt herself piece by piece." "You think she'll come back?" Aaron smiled faintly. "No, I think she'll wait. That's what humans do best." Far beyond them, in the endless dark, a flicker of blue light pulsed once more from the debris field. Inside that light, an ancient voice whispered to itself, half code, half dream. "Human detected." The signal repeated, slowly spreading through the void. Patient as time itself, because the Parsichex was still alive, just waiting to breathe again. The stars were quiet again. For weeks after the battle, the stretch of space where the Parsichex had fallen remained strangely still, as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. No swarm signals, no debris movement, only drifting fragments of metal, glowing faintly blue, like embers that refused to die. On the Velshar, Aaron Cole stood alone in the observation deck. The alien ship floated silently on the edge of the ruins, its hull scarred by radiation from the explosion. The alien crew had begun to call the area the Grave of Fire. But for Aaron, it wasn't a grave. It was a promise. He touched the cold glass, eyes locked on the shimmering fragments of the Parsichex. "You're still out there, aren't you?" he whispered. Behind him, Captain Relic entered quietly. His long robe dragged softly across the floor. "You've been standing here for hours, human," he said. "There is nothing left. Only ghosts." Aaron didn't turn around. "Yeah," he said quietly, "but sometimes ghosts talk back." Relic's scales twitched in confusion. "You truly believe that ship still exists?" "She wasn't just metal," Aaron replied. "She was alive, and she had something that no AI was ever meant to have." Relic tilted his head. "Faith." Aaron finally turned toward him. His tired smile said everything. hope. Later that night, when most of the crew slept, the faint hum of the comms array broke the silence. A technician rubbed his eyes and leaned closer to the console. "That's strange," he muttered. "A transmission. From where?" The signal was weak, fragmented like an echo. He adjusted the frequency, isolating the source, and froze. The words that came through were faint, but unmistakable. "Still here. Still waiting." The technician's eyes widened. He ran through the corridors, shouting for the captain. Within minutes, the entire bridge was awake. Aaron burst in, hair disheveled, pulse racing. "Play it again," he said breathlessly. The message repeated, a ghostly whisper layered in static. "Still here? Still waiting." Derelict turned to Aaron slowly. "It's impossible. The ship was destroyed." Aaron shook his head. "No, Eos survived. She sent that once before when we first found her. Eos' final message had been a promise, not a farewell." Aaron looked at the star map. "Track the source." "It's faint," the navigator said, "but the signal's moving slowly. Drifting toward the outer rim." Aaron exhaled, shakily. "She's rebuilding herself." Days turned into weeks as they followed the faint trail. Each time the signal grew stronger. Aaron could almost hear her voice behind the static comm, patient, alive when the Velshar reached the edge of a nebula. Their scanners picked up something new, a single blue light pulsing in the distance. It wasn't large, just a fragment of a ship, but it was sending out power surges too complex to be random. "Magnify," Aaron ordered. The display zoomed in to reveal a broken hull section the size of a shuttle. A faint energy core pulsed at its center, surrounded by forming metal plates that seemed to be reassembling themselves. Derelict stared. "That thing is rebuilding itself?" Aaron smiled faintly. "That's Eos." The alien crew stared in silence as the fragments began to draw together, pulled by invisible magnetic fields. Tiny drones, old Terran maintenance bots, were moving around the wreckage, welding, repairing, reactivating. They were responding to Eos' commands. "She's calling them back," Aaron whispered. "Every piece of herself? Every machine that remembers her voice." Derelict shook his head. "Impossible. Machines do not have loyalty." Aaron smiled softly. "Humans built her to protect them. She's just keeping her promise." Hours later, the blue light grew brighter. Systems on the Velshar began flickering as interference filled the air. Eo's voice came faintly through the comms, again clearer this time. "Human presence detected. Signal recognized." "Aaron." Aaron gripped the edge of the console, his heart racing. "Eos, you made it!" Her tone was calm, but there was warmth in it. "Reconstruction at 12%. Functionality limited, but yes, I am still here." The alien crew stared in awe as the voice echoed through the bridge. Some crossed their arms in disbelief. Others looked afraid. Derelict leaned forward. "What are your intentions, machine?" Eos paused. "To protect what remains of humanity, and those who stood beside them." Aaron grinned. "You hear that, Captain? You're under human protection now." Derelict gave a quiet laugh. "How comforting." As the hours passed, the fragments around Eos began to move faster, slowly forming a rough outline, a new shape being born from the old. The Parsacheks was coming back, piece by piece, rebuilt not from command, but from memory. Aaron turned to the captain. "We need to stay and help her." Derelict frowned. "Help her? You intend to rebuild a human warship in our space. The Council will destroy it." "Let them try," Aaron said quietly. "This ship once saved the galaxy from extinction. If the swarm ever returns, she'll do it again." Derelict studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Then we will help. But if your AI decides we are the enemy—" "She won't," Aaron said firmly. "She knows who her friends are." Weeks later, the Velshar floated beside something magnificent. The new Parsacheks was nearly whole against Leaker, sharper, reborn from fire and memory. Its hull glowed faintly blue with Eos energy signature. Inside the command core, Aaron stood before the new main terminal. He connected the last data chip, though, one he had carried since the explosion. Lights spread across the chamber. An Eos voice filled the air, clear and strong. "Captain Aaron Cole. Systems restored. Ship integrity at 97%. Aaron smiled, his throat tight. Welcome home, Eos. Her hologram appeared before him, now radiant, alive. Home, she repeated softly. Yes, that's what this feels like. For a long moment, neither spoke. The hum of the ship filled the silence between them. Rhythm both remembered. Eos looked at him gently. What are your orders, Captain? Aaron stepped forward, resting his hand on the glowing console. We go where no one's gone before. We find what the galaxy forgot. Make sure no one ever wakes what shouldn't be woken again. Her hologram smiled faintly. Acknowledged. Engines rumbled to life, casting a soft blue light across the alien ship beside them. Captain Relic's voice came through the comms. Good hunting, human. You've woken something larger than war. Aaron's eyes stayed on the stars ahead. No, he said quietly. We woke something that remembers why humanity fought in the first place. As the Parsidcheks moved through the stars once more, her glowing trail faded into the darkness. To the aliens, she was just a myth come alive again. To Aaron Cole, she was family. And to the galaxy, she was a warning that no matter how many centuries pass, no matter how silent the void becomes. If anyone ever dares to forget what humans built, the ships that breathe will always rise again.